Hello everybody, John from Movie Burners here, back with another review, and today I'm going to be discussing the monstrously successful 2017 horror release, It. Now, I don't think there is another one-syllable, two-letter word in the English language which had the power to really conjure up the sheer unadulterated terror that It did back in the mid-1990s when I was a young boy. For some inexplicable reason, my parents decided it was perfectly reasonable for a young child to watch the nightmare fuel that was Tim Curry's Pennywise. Now, fast forward 20 years and Warner Brothers finally decided to remake it. Now, the first thing I'll say about this film is that for me personally it wasn't even remotely scary. I've grown a fairly thick skin for horrors in the ensuing years since my childhood, and I'm not easily startled. But even still, this film very much falls into the disturbing category as opposed to being downright terrifying. And this is a view that's shared with just about everybody I know that's seen it. Now, much of that I feel is down to maybe two things, for me anyway. Firstly, it's over-reliance on jump scares and well-trodden horror tropes. Now, the jump scare technique for me is one that reaps ever-diminishing returns, and it never really has an impact on me these days. In fact, I don't think it ever had an impact on me at any point, and it's never really had a big impact on me, I have to say. Secondly, would be, I think, just a manifestation of the changing times. With so much access to real-life horrors in the world through gore sites and a mainstream news which quite frankly feeds us horrific pictures and videos of war zones and God knows what else just about every day without a real filter, it would take something truly depraved or some new cinematic technique, maybe VR related or something, to elicit a similar response to these films that the 5-year-old me would have had back in the day. That being said, the trailer for this film certainly got me interested with its tone and interesting techniques where you could pause the screen and see Pennywise in all his glory. And look, despite not being scared shitless at any point, I'm not doing the film down. I did love it. I thought it was a highly entertaining story for the most part and filled with some brilliant performances. It's of course based on the classic 1986 Stephen King novel, which by all accounts is fantastic. I personally wouldn't know about that because I've not managed to read it yet. And it's set in the 1980s small town New England environment of Derry, which apparently has an unflinching indifference to child disappearances, considering the amount that pop up in that end scene. And it shares the same opening as the 1990 TV film, which is of course the meme maker's paradise that is the Georgie scene, where of course Pennywise talks to a ridiculously naive George from a drain, drawing him ever closer into his grasp before severing his arm brutally and dragging him down into the drain. And I have to admit, that was a pretty disturbing scene, but surely there isn't a 5-year-old on the planet that's actually stupid enough to stand around whilst a fully grown man is standing in a drain. Maybe there is, I don't know. But it then jumps forward a year, putting the focus firmly on our main protagonists of the film, who are a 7-strong group of misfits, self-entitled the Losers Club. Now, each of them have very highly dysfunctional lives and various different problems of their own, and I have to say the director Muschietti does a splendid job of developing each of these kids. He gives them all plenty of screen time each, with which they can develop as characters, and this really helps the audience, and it helped me in particular, form an emotional connection which was vital going into the film's later scenes, because it really is about the self-affirming journey these kids go on in the film, with some of the most disturbing moments really reserved for scenes that don't even involve Pennywise. For instance, the moment the little fat kid, whose name forgets me at the moment, gets slashed and forced to flee down a ditch after Henry corners him, that was just crazy, as was the hint at the sexually abusive relationship that Beverly had with her father. Now, after being haunted by a myriad of nightmarish manifestations, which included a rotten corpse, a headless boy, a phantom Georgie, and even a bloody sink, and of course the terrifying sight that is Pennywise himself, the gang realise that these are all connected to the one entity which, after a short bit of research, they discover comes out of hibernation every 27 years to prey on a new generation of children. and they decide, you know what, time's up for this thing, we're going to confront it. And they head along to the abandoned house at 29 Neibolk Street, which is a right little fun house of horrors indeed. Now I have to say, this was my personal favourite moment in the film. There was so much going on in it, and I have to say, it did leave me slightly uneasy in parts. It didn't scare me, but it did leave me uneasy and disturbed. That, along with the projector scene, are right up there in this film is the best for me. And Pennywise really does have his way with them all during it, it has to be said. And that moment where he actually has his head impaled was beyond freaky, really, and just weird. The finale, down the well with all the bodies and the kids' items all piled up in a mountain, was slightly predictable. And of course, all the kids find their various different strengths and they become one to take down Pennywise temporarily. But I enjoyed it in spite of that predictability. And I can't do a review on this film without giving mention to that bizarre dancing moment on the stage at the end. What the hell was that even about? Now visually, I was fairly pleased with the film for the most part. It didn't blow me away, I have to say, and there was some dodgy moments in there for me, especially with the CG surrounding Pennywise and his massive forehead. Now, as someone who's got a big forehead and myself, I'm not going to slag him off too much. It's not as big as Pennywise's, but there was just something off. And even Bill Skarsgård's very slight squint, that was just distracting as hell to me, and I couldn't help find my eyes being drawn to it. But you know, it was decent enough. In terms of acting, just about every one of the kids in the Losers gang were solid, delivering very assured performances despite their relatively young age. And Bill Skarsgård was, for the most part, great too. I actually found myself laughing at points because despite his creepy appearance, complete with the incredibly disturbing neck ruffle thing, I don't even know what that's called, he was a genuinely entertaining character. And he didn't have a great deal of screen time, certainly not as much as I anticipated getting in to see the film for the first time. But despite his sporadic appearances, he certainly was well utilised throughout, and when he did pop up, I thought he was brilliant. The mullet guy, as I called him, I think his actual name in the film was Henry, and I believe he's played by Nicholas Hamilton. He was actually quite good too, and there was times during this film when I felt like he was more of a threat to the kids than Pennywise himself. Such was the extent of his sociopathic tendencies. But in the end though, I felt it was more like a coming of age film with a murderous clown flung in for good measure. And listen, I've not read the book, so I'm not entirely sure how much of a faithful recreation it is of the Stephen King novel, but I certainly was entertained by it, and I'm definitely looking forward to popping along and watching the sequel when it comes out next year. Now, I don't think I need to recommend this film to anyone because I do think half the world has probably seen it already, but if for whatever reason you haven't, then certainly give it a watch because you'll not be disappointed. And I'll be giving it a 3.5 out of 5. Remember guys, if you're enjoying the content we're putting out, then be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and iTunes, and give us a little follow on Facebook at Movie Burner Entertainment and on Twitter at Movie Burners. You can also catch up with all the latest reviews we're putting out at the Movie Burner blog on movieburnerentertainment.org. Until the next time, goodbye.